Hi all, welcome back. I'm going to show you here making the solid oak mullion windows for the new workshop. This first part here, all speeded up, is just showing you some of the machining. We've bought oak packs. They're European oak. We bought big packs of oak, so we've got to decide dimensions, rip them, then machine them all down, planer thickness them before we can start actually constructing. Okay, so the first job is planing everything up and getting it square. What we need to do is work out roughly, nothing's ever straight, it's all twisted and whatnot, especially with the oak. We need to work out what we can get to. We're looking for 85 by 90 mil, possibly 75 by 90 mil in some cases. So we go through all the different stacks of wood, planing it, ripping it, checking out what we're going to get, and then there's a lot of windows to make, so we're kind of working to the overall average. Okay, so now we're getting on to making the tenons. Now, I've come up with a cutter set. I've had them made for me at White Hill. We'll be doing an in-depth talk on this, and what it's doing here is going to cut the tenon and it's going to cut the rebate for the glazing all in one go. So all we have to do is then cut a glazing rebate in the uprights and all the horizontals. Okay, so this is something quite new for me. Since getting the F45 with its programmable memories, I've worked out that it's actually quicker, safer and easier to actually cut the window rebates on the circular saw rather than using a router bit or rather than using a spindle moulder, both of which create tons of sawdust. So the key here is that because it's programmable, you do your first cut for the, say, cut 1, and you can save that in the memory. That's going to be, say, 25 mil deep for the glass, and then you can do all of those cuts, then go to cut number 2, turn your upright or your horizontal around, and then cut the remainder of the rebate, and you actually get left with an off cut. And in some cases, if you're going to use any kind of glazing bead, then you can use that for the glazing bead, or you just end up with loads of little offcuts you can either burn or use for other projects rather than just tons of sawdust. I must say though, before having a kind of CNC saw with the motorized rip fence, this would be really difficult because you would have to do all of your pieces in one go. So all your A's and all your B's, because if you come back to it with a manual saw, your rebates would be all over the place. And the problem would be that because I'm cutting the tenon and the rebate on the spindle moulder in one go, it needs to be exactly 20 or 25 mil in this case. So with all the tenons marked out, how I do this now, obviously this mortiser is not a CNC machine, so it's a manual. So I do all of my tenons first, and then I do all of the rebates for the glass, and then I set the mortiser to the tenon height. Couple of checks and you're good to go. Okay, so what is interesting about working in this more traditional method of using the mortise and tenons rather than domino is that because we're doing so many windows and they're all the same, now having a spindle moulder that can handle the huge tenons and cut the rebate in one go It is much faster. This next stage, you spend a little while setting up the machines, but because they're all digital, it's really easy when you're doing the test cut to just nudge it up or down a mill and save it. And then that goes for the table saw, it goes for everything. So much less test cutting, much quicker to get it spot on. And when it comes to this glue up stage, it's so much quicker because you're not, these joints are so tight and structural that there's you need a clamp to pull them together, but you're not really fighting against the kind of the domino. When you've got tons of dominoes in the system, it can get quite slow to do the glue up. I'm using this 10-minute resin glue. I'm really liking it. It's not as runny as Type Bond or your normal D4, and it's more like they call it like a wood resin. It's really good for this, and you'll see when we come to the next stage of clamping up, these joints are super tight. You could basically clamp them up and take this off in 10 minutes and install them, which is what we did. You can see with two of us, with Will helping me, this is a really fast process. We actually made all these windows super quick. Literally all down to machining them very accurately and then getting the machine set up. This is something I designed, I'll show you here, and worked with Whitehill to supply the right cut blocks for these exact windows. I am going to be offering these windows for sale for specialist kind of restoration companies in any size, but really more like small run bespoke. Okay, so after the initial setup, that's 4 windows made in a day, all ready for sanding same day because of the 10-minute glue. So we have to work pretty fast. It's always the same with glue ups, but it's a 10-minute glue for clamping, and then it's pretty much cured in about an hour. Now the fit here is pretty much perfect. Most of the sanding you're seeing is to remove the glue, which is always a pain. I could put this through the great big wide belt, but it's so accurate the way it's been done. And then we're repairing, you can see here with the CA glue, we're repairing the splits and the tears. Oak really does tear out. This had loads of little minor tears in it, just from planing and whatnot. So we repair it all as we go, then we're going to fit it and oil it afterwards. As always, thanks so much for your support. That's the end of this one. There's some more windows and some doors coming up for the workshops. The resin room windows are going to use dominoes, just to show you some other interesting ways to make them. A video coming up on some big bifolds for the workshop. I actually started these bifolds before the fire. As you'll see in the video, it actually starts before the fire happened. I'd cut most of the mortises and had it kind of ready to construct. I hadn't cut the tenons, and then the fire happened and they managed to survive, which was cool.